I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a very special guest with us today. Please welcome Father Bill Minigan, United States Navy chaplain retired from St. Joseph's Church in Malden, to conduct the opening prayer. Father Bill.
Let us pray. Gracious God, as we gather on this day to honor the veterans of the many wars that this nation has been involved with, we ask that you bless us with your love and your peace. We especially remember and commemorate the 100th anniversary of the Great War, World War I. That military engagement cost this nation and many of the nations of Europe and beyond the lives of millions of men and women who were full of hopes, dreams, and the potential to bring an age of cooperation and peace to your children throughout the world. As we honor those of our great city of Malden who served and sacrificed their lives and their futures to achieve peace throughout your creation, we ask that you be with us on this day on which we dedicate this memorial to their bravery, patriotism, and their ideals. Those we honor, remember today, fought that we might be a free people, and that all of your children will be given the opportunity to rejoice in your gifts of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. As we honor those who place the good of humanity above their own desires and expectations, we ask you to give us the strength to continue their mission of strengthening our nation in its historic role of combating evil and oppression here and abroad. They served that we might live. Enable us to accept the challenge as they did, to live to serve. And all this we ask, loving God, through your great and compassionate name. Amen.
At this time, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce a man who stood at this very podium 18 months ago and said we were going to build a citywide World War I monument to all Malden men and women that served in World War I. At this time, please welcome the son of a Vietnam veteran, your mayor, Gary Christenson.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Good morning. It is often said that we should always look to the future and not dwell on the past. But that is not the case today on November 11th. This is a day when we pause as a nation to thank our veterans for their sacrifice, their sense of duty, and for their loyal service. Few have given more to our country than the uniformed men and women who have protected, defended, and preserved the ideals that shape our way of life. But today, we also go back in time, especially to pay tribute and give thanks to the men and women from Malden who fought in World War I. We do this by unveiling and dedicating a memorial on the 100th anniversary of the end of that war that will forever honor these brave heroes in one location for the first time in city history. This tribute came about through the hard work of several people who were committed to permanently memorializing the sacrifices of these heroes. They include Kevin Jarvis, Debbie Burke, Kathleen Manning Hall, Butch Russell, Paul Condon, Steve Altrino, Chuck Rannigan, Jim Cahill, and Kevin Molas. In addition, 2 local business owners, Anthony Dakotas of Town Line Luxury Lanes and Chris Takash of Idle Hands Brewery, donated $25,000 between them, while the state delegation assisted us in securing funds through the Secretary of State's office with the support of Malden's Historical Commission. We are also grateful for the generous contribution of the Baird Foundation, city councilors, and many of our residents across the city. I am incredibly proud of all these efforts, but more importantly, I am certain that the men and women whose names are forever etched on the panels behind me would be proud too. President Harry Truman said, "Our debt to the heroic men and valiant women in the service of our country can never be repaid. They have earned our undying gratitude. America will never forget their sacrifices." After this ceremony is over, we will go back to looking toward the future, but let us do so never forgetting the sacrifices of the Malden men and women on this memorial, and with a renewed sense of appreciation for all our veterans who courageously accepted the responsibility to defend their country when duty called. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time I'd like to welcome a man that I met a few years ago, and he comes to all our events, but he represents multiple communities. He's lived in other countries like many of us veterans. He's seen what the rest of the world is like and knows we're the greatest country in the world. Please welcome Jason Lewis, your senator.
Thank you, Kevin. It is a great honor to join you all this morning for this very special celebration of Veterans Day. This year's celebration is particularly meaningful because, as you know, it is the 100th anniversary since the end of World War I, and of course we are rededicating this beautiful World War I monument. Despite a late entry into World War I in 1917, our great nation still committed its full might to this terrible conflict. Almost 3 million of our fellow Americans served abroad during the Great War. 53,000 were killed in action. 63,000 Americans died from disease and other causes, and 205,000 were wounded. These brave men included 2,821 from the city of Malden, including 75 who made the ultimate sacrifice for our country. On November 11, 1919, on the first celebration of Armistice Day, President Woodrow Wilson spoke to the nation, and here is part of what he said. To us in America, the reflections of Armistice Day will be filled with solemn pride in the heroism of those who died in the country's service, and with gratitude for the victory, both because of the thing from which it has freed us and because of the opportunity it has given America to show her sympathy with peace and justice in the councils of the nations. I want to extend, on behalf of all of us, our deepest gratitude to Mayor Christenson, Kevin Jarvis, General Kondratiuk, and members of the World War I Monument Restoration Committee, and everybody here in the city of Malden for your vision and all of your efforts and hard work to make this project a reality.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to introduce a very special person, someone that served this city for umpteen years. I'm not sure how many, but he served it in many ways, and he was on the World War I Restoration Committee with me. Please welcome Ward 2 Councillor Paul Condon. How many is umpteen?
30. Thank you, Kevin. Before I do anything, I'd like to say thank you to all the veterans here and their families who sacrificed so much to preserve our freedoms over the years. So thank you for serving. I'd like to introduce our state delegation, who've always been so supportive. Senator Jason Lewis, Representative Paul Donato, Representative Steve Utrino. Next, I'd like to introduce my colleagues on the City Council who came together and were so supportive, because I was really a pain in the neck, I have to admit it. But they were there when we needed them, and they wanted to make sure that their veterans were up on these plaques and recognized the way they should have been. First, we have our council president, Debbie DiMaria. At-large councilor, Craig Spadafora. At-large councilor, Steve Winslow. Ward 1 councilor, Peg Crow. Ward 3 councilor, John Matheson. Ward 4 councilor, Ryan O'Malley. Ward 5 councilor, Barbara Murphy. Ward 6 councilor, Dave Carmel. Ward 7 councilor, who we missed during the parade due to gout. However, I knew he'd be here. A veteran himself, Neil Anderson. From the school committee, superintendent, who leads the school committee, John Attieri. Rob McCarthy from Ward 2. Lenny Iovino from Ward 4. Catherine Bordenaro from Ward 7. And John Froyo from Ward 8. The committee did a tremendous amount of work, and after the last rededication, I can remember speaking with the head of the Irish American Veterans Committee, Butch Russell, who said, we need to do this. We need to get all veterans in the entire city recognized the way they should be. And from there, it just spiraled. And we got support throughout the entire community. So I thank you, Butch. You were always there, buddy. I would be remiss if I did not give special recognition to two people. Sometimes when you do projects like this, you hit a wall. But we made a couple good draft choices. Charles Rannigan, Chucky as I call him, our city controller, Jim Cahill, who runs the Forestdale Cemetery, they coordinated this entire thing. The construction, the people that were doing the landscaping, they just were our superheroes. Believe me when I tell you this. I wasn't sure if we're going to be here today. But Jimmy and Chucky, I thank you so much for saving us. I'd just like to have everybody enjoy the day, Thank you for having me here. This completes what we knew we had to do, and that's get every veteran who served in World War I from the city of Malden up here on these beautiful plaques. Thank you very much.
Yeah, like Paul said, Jim Cahill and Chuck Rannigan, they grabbed that company by the neck and said, we got to get this done by Veterans Day. And the representatives from Matthews, who built the plaques, Minnan Construction, who laid 4-foot foundations that these monuments stand on, were out here in the pouring rain working. And I was out here watching them. I didn't have to do the work, thank God. But they did a great job. And at this time, I'd just like to introduce a man who has helped me for years. When I first started on this job, we never met till this morning. Brigadier General Leonid Kondratiuk serves as a Director of Historical Services. He's been a military historian for the U.S. Army and National Guard for 38 years. He's the co-chair of the Centennial Commission and national commander of the 26th Division Veterans Association. Please welcome my friend who loves all veterans, Brigadier General retired Leonid Kondratiuk.
Thank you for that promo. Good morning, Mayor Christenson, elected officials, fellow veterans, ladies and gentlemen. It's a special day in Malden history. You are honoring the 2,821 Malden men and women who served in World War I. These monuments behind me are unique. I know of no other town that has honored its World War I servicemen and veterans in such a way. In my role as chairman of the World War I Centennial Commission for the state, we informed the National Commission, who are well aware of what's going on here today, about this event. We also honor the memory and the sacrifice of the 75 Malden servicemen who died in the war. Several years ago, I wrote a history of the Malden Militia National Guard from 1631 to 1997. Malden has sent their sons and now daughters to war since 1675. And among the first unit of soldiers in the U.S. Army to fight in World War I was a unit from Malden. In late July 1917, Company L, 5th Infantry Regiment, Massachusetts National Guard, also called the Malden Rifles, was ordered into active duty. They mobilized at Camp Framingham, 132 men. Their names will be on right behind me. Became Company L, the 101st U.S. Infantry Regiment of the 26th Yankee Division. Just 6 weeks later, on 6 September 1917, the 101st Infantry left Massachusetts and soon arrived in France as one of the first infantry regiments ever to arrive in the theater of operations. Company L entered the trenches in February of 1918 as one of the first American units to enter combat. Company L spent 6 weeks in the trenches. At night, they found shelter from constant enemy artillery fire in the nearby caves. At night, after the war, these caves were sealed and remained closed for 98 years. 2 years ago, I entered the cave that Company L found shelter in. Much of the material that they had left or dropped as they were leaving, such as bullets, equipment, and yes, a few empty wine bottles, were still in the cave. They also left graffiti on the caves, which they carved with their bayonets into the soft limestone. Due to atmospheric conditions in the cave, it looked like they had carved their names in the graffiti the day before. They left their marks as to say, we were here and we live. I later visited the American cemeteries where the soldiers of Company L and the 101st Infantry are buried. Gravestones now mark their sacrifice. Their names are also etched on the walls of the Yankee Division Church in Belleau, France. Company L led the way for the 2,700 men and women who followed them. Malden, then and now, then and today, was diverse in its makeup. Yankees from English stock, immigrants and sons of immigrants from Armenia, Canada, Ireland, Italy, Russia, and Ukraine, and other countries, as well as African Americans. Americans fighting men and women. That's what makes this nation great. Our armed forces great. From many, one. Let me tell you just a few stories about your Malden men, servicemen and women. Private Walter Berry of Company L, 19 years old, awarded 2 Silver Stars for gallantry and was severely wounded on July 23, 1918 during the Aisne-Marne Offensive, the first American offensive of the war. First Lieutenant James Breslin awarded Distinguished Service Cross in the French Legion of Honor for gallant leading his platoon, reduced to 12 men, capturing 2 enemy machine guns, 40 prisoners, and a treasure trove of important intelligence documents. Brigadier General Lloyd Brett, Distinguished Service Medal for conspicuous service commanding the 160th Brigade of the 80th Division during the war. Yeoman First Class Catherine Callahan, U.S. Navy, one of the first women ever to enter military service. Private William Epps, an African-American National Guardsman who served in Company L of the 372nd U.S. Infantry Regiment, an all-black regiment. When that regiment showed up in France, General Pershing's staff did not want them, nor did they want the other combat black regiments. Instead, they were attached to the French Army. The 377th Regiment fought so well it was decorated with the Croix de Guerre for its collective gallantry. Lieutenant Richard Hall, U.S. Navy, captain of Subchaser 257, awarded the Navy Cross for attacking German submarines. Army nurse Mary Poole, who treated hundreds of soldiers sick with the flu at the camp hospital at Camp Devens. She ministered to her patients for days, for months, and onward without sleep. Lieutenant George Reed, U.S. Marine Corps, with his unit stopped the German attack at Belleau Wood, and one of the greatest episodes in Marine Corps history. I can go on and tell you many stories about the men and women with their names on this monument. But let me tell you as well about the people of France. I attended 100th anniversary ceremonies in France this past July. I walked the battlefields where our soldiers fought and at the cemeteries where many of them are buried. At every ceremony, hundreds, even thousands of French people came to pay their respects for what American soldiers, sailors, and Marines did in World War I. Unlike us, the people of France remember what it's like to live under the foot of foreign oppression, with the loss of freedom. After 100 years, they still appreciate what we did as a nation. While most Americans have forgotten about what our servicemen and women did in World War I, the people of Malden have not. Thank you for honoring their service and sacrifice of these men and women who so nobly carried the burden of service in a difficult war 100 years ago. I also want to thank all that were involved in this project. Our World War I veterans are looking down upon us today. Thank you very much.
There were 45 women from Malden that served during World War II. Many of them served in France, including the 3 Chapman sisters. They were born in Canada, came to Malden, they worked at Malden Hospital, and all 3 of them shipped out to France on the very same day. And luckily, that was in July 1918, and came back to the United States a year later. Aside from the 45 women, we had 25 African Americans whose names are going to be unveiled in this monument as well. Irish, Italians, many different nationalities. And David Tartikoff came here when he was 3 years old, born in the Ukraine, died at the Battle of Belleau Wood. Austin Francis O'Hare, born in Ireland, lived about 500 yards from here around the corner on Julia Street. Died on November 11th, 1918. At this time, I'd like some family members to come up and help me unveil the monuments. We have with us former Mayor Jim Conway, whose father enlisted in the military at the age of 16 during World War I. Mr. Conway, would you like to come up? Dimitri, could you escort Mayor Conway up to the spot? We have Barbara Tolstrup, whose father served in World War I and whose father-in-law was injured on May 31st, 1918, along the same day William Trafton was killed, and my great uncle, William Lawler, was wounded. So May 31st, 1918 was a tough day for the Malden Rifles, but today we don't forget them. We also have with us Cheryl Driscoll Matisse, grandniece of William Harris, who was killed in World War I, and his monument is across from the Spanish-American monument at the corner of Pleasant Street and Highland Avenue. Joseph H. Angelo, his father Nicholas is going to be on this monument. If he could come up and help us, please. Gene Pinkham, whose uncle Eugene Pinkham is on this monument. Please join us. Deputy Chief Bill Sullivan, Malden Fire Department, whose grandfather is on this monument. Please join us. And Joanne Barthelmess, whose grandfather, Frederick Barthelmess, and I think he might have been a Malden police officer, if I got my facts straight. No? Her father was the officer. Almost got it right. And myself, my grandfather, and about 20 other relatives, my great uncles, and my grandfather's first cousin, Peter Sullivan, who was killed in France on this monument. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time we're going to unveil the first monument. As you can see, it's red, white, and blue for a specific reason. Mayor Conway, would you assist me with the unveiling of the red monument here? At this time, I'd like you all to listen closely to a poem called In Flanders Fields to be read by Dimitri Borrero, Malden High School student. The writer of this poem was Lieutenant Colonel John McCare, who was born in 1872. He was a Canadian doctor and teacher, and he served in World War I. He's best known for his memorial poem, In Flanders Fields, which is one of the most quoted poems from World War I. The poem refers to the red poppies that grew over the graves of his friends, the fallen soldiers. This resulted in the Remembrance red poppy becoming one of the world's most recognized memorial symbols for soldiers who have died in conflict. So when you see those VFW members outside the stores, make sure you get a poppy and make a nice donation. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dimitri Borrero.
In Flanders Field, the poppies grow, beneath the crosses, row on row that mark our place. And in the sky, the lark still bravely singing fly, scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead. Short days ago we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders Field. Take up our quarrel with the foe. To you from falling hands we throw the torch. Be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders Field.
Nice. So at this time, please join Dimitri Borrero in the singing of Over There. So get your lyrics ready and your voice is tuned up. Dimitri?
Johnny, get your gun, get your gun, get your gun. Take it on the run, on the run, on the run. Hear them calling you and me, every son of liberty. Hurry right away, no delay, go today. Make your daddy glad to have had such a lad. Tell your sweetheart not to pine, to be proud her boys in line. Over there, over there. Send the word over there. that the Yanks are coming, the Yanks are coming, the drums rum-tumming everywhere. So prepare, say a prayer, send the word to beware. We'll be over, we're coming over, and we won't come back till it's over there, over there, over there. Send the word over there. That the Yanks are coming, the Yanks are coming, the drums rum-tumming everywhere. So prepare, say a prayer, send the word to beware. We'll be over, we're coming over, and we won't come back till it's over there.
Yeah. Great job. Ladies and gentlemen, closing, please come to attention and render the appropriate salute or place your hand over your heart for the playing of taps to be performed by Malden High School students Wilson Chow, Shai Cohen, and Josiah Benitez. Thank you. Thank you very much to everyone. And at this time, I'd like to welcome a man who's always quietly behind the scenes doing a lot in Malden to remember all our veterans. And today, his great uncle and his grandfather are on this monument. And to present the City of Malden World War I Restoration Committee with a $10,000 check, please welcome Hank Kieser.
I want to thank on behalf of the trustees of the Baird Foundation, I want to thank the City of Malden for raising these monuments, which contain my grandfather and granduncle, and many other names. If they hadn't gone there, I don't think we'd be here today. And I hope and I pray that the children that are here today are never called for that sacrifice. Thank you very much.
Each and every one of you here today, and many others who could not make it, have truly been part of something very special. I really appreciate the way Malden has come together to honor all of our World War I veterans on this special day, the 100th anniversary of the end of World War I. Thank you very much for coming out today. I really appreciate it. I can't say enough to Gary Christenson, our elected officials who really came to the forefront to help put this together. Thank you so very much for coming out today. And if I forgot to thank you, I thank all of you. Thank you very much.